Okay, everybody, let's start with the invocation. So sit in Padmasana, Swastikasana, Bhagrasana, whatever you can to be stable with an alert spine, legs and hips releasing downward. Bring your hands to the floor or to your blanket and pressing down into the hands. Lift up to the sides of the trunk. Feel the heaviness, establish the heaviness of the hips and legs descending to the floor as you extend up through the trunk. Now, so today we're going to be really talking a lot about the back body and the diaphragm in particular, the back lung tissue. All of that is going to be part of our focus. But before we get into the respiratory effects of the poses that we're doing, let's take a moment to establish ourselves on the land, on the earth, wherever you may be, to acknowledge the history of the land that you are situated on, the legacy, the spirits of the land, the elements of the land, and especially the people of the land who were here before any settlers came. So acknowledging here in Detroit, Southeast Michigan, Wawi-Yatanong, Anishinaabe Nation, here on this land. And as I acknowledge the people of this land, then I'm also connecting myself to the earth, grounding myself, settling myself, and contextualizing myself, contextualizing our work. So in your mind, in your heart, take a moment to consider where you are on the planet today and the people who were here before you, the beings that are still here on this land, the spirits that are still here on this land. And dedicate yourself in your mind and heart to supporting the legacy of the land, the people of the land, the healing of the land and its people. And now bring your hands together at the center of the chest, pressing the palms together. Take a moment to balance the head at the top of the spine and make sure that you're not leaning back nor leaning forward, but the shoulders stacked exactly over the hips and the crown of the head balanced over the tailbone at the top of the spine. Shrink the eyes toward the back of the skull until the upper eyelids become heavy and descend naturally, softly, toward the lower eyelids. Soften the jaw, soften the face. And we'll chant 3 ohms and the invocation to Patanjali in unison. Exhale all together. Inhale all together. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya chavajakena yopa karotam pravaram muninam atanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankachakra siddharinam Sahasra Shirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Hari Om. And bow your head down, turn your hands, saluting the stage Patanjali, saluting the stage within. Then release your hands to your legs, lift your face, and open your eyes. So as I announced at the beginning of class, we're going to do, we always start off Saturday morning class with a little bit of sutra study. So if you have a sutra book, please bring it over. And we have been going sequentially through the book. I think this is our second or third round. And so now we're at 247. So we're into like a very, very juicy, very practical part of the sutras, and have been having really interesting discussions. So 247, Prayatna Shaitilya Nanta Samapatipyam. So this is kind of a famous one. This is one that is discussed and brought up quite often. Prayatna, Guruji translates it as persevering effort, continued exertion, endeavor. Shaitilya. So if prayatna is effort, then shaitilya is the opposite of effort, is relaxation. And then ananta, we have anantasana. And so ananta, endless, boundless, eternal, infinite, beautiful word, beautiful concept. And then samapatipyam. Sama is the same root word as the English word, is the root for the English word same. So same, equal. Here it means sort of original. How does Edwin Bryant translates it? Engrossment, the power of thought transfer. And then patibhyam, assuming the original form, completion, conclusion. So here, here's BKS Iyengar's sort of famous phrase about perfection in asana, which I think is so misunderstood. We can discuss that in a little bit. So perfection in an asana is achieved when the effort to perform it becomes effortless and the infinite being within is reached. Really beautiful poetic translation here. Bryant translates it a little bit more sort of plainly. His translations are always more literal. Such posture, the asana, which, the sutra that precedes it, by the way, is Sthira Sukham Asanam, which is also, one of the first sutras that we memorize, right? Because it's one of the first sutras, one of the only sutras that mentions asana. So Bryant translates it as such posture, asana, should be attained by the relaxation of effort and by absorption in the infinite. So this idea of effort and relaxation, and then total union, absorption with ananta, with the infinite, purusha. So yeah, this is like really instructive for us and super relevant for us, is this idea of doing the best we can, but then relaxing, shaitilya, and in order to access the infinite. So it brings up some questions for me. So the way that I approach the sutras is kind of observing, inviting questions, inviting query, and seeing what kind of questions come up in me as I consider this. So then how do we know when we've reached perfection? What are the guidelines for perfection? Because we really know that as Iyengar yoga practitioners, we never really arrive at the final pose, right? We're never complete, really. But Patanjali says it's when the effort ceases, when the effort to perform becomes effortless. So often in Iyengar yoga, we talk about effortless effort. And so, but I think that's a really, that's an elusive state. It's something that I think most of us find difficult to attain. Either we're completely relaxed and the pose is, collapse at least partially, or we're like working really hard and we don't feel that sense of ananta, that sense of the infinite, or any sense of shaitilya, relaxation. And then also in our community, in the Iyengar Yoga Detroit community, we're always reading these sutras through the lens of the collective. So what does it mean to the collective and collective effort when we're talking about effort and relaxation, and finding that sense of the infinite, samapatipyam. So this sutra presents a dilemma. I guess I would say that for me, the sutra presents a dilemma, but I'm really thinking about this, you know, how do we recognize this state of samapatipyam, which Bryant describes, translates as the power of thought transformation, engrossment, absorption of the mind. And then how do we connect that sense, that state of samapatipyam with our responsibility to the pose, to each other, to community? You know, how do we do both? Yoga invites us to explore how we can do both. And I think that this is the power of yoga, is that now we can think about, okay, this is what I'm doing, but it's burning me out, or it's making me exhausted in the asana, or it's injuring me in the asana. How do I find that place, that site, that sweet spot where I'm in the fullest expression of the asana or whatever project I'm in, but I'm not burnt out and I feel relaxed and I feel calm, and I have a sense of that larger purpose, that larger, that ananta, the infinite, the eternal. It's not just like, okay, I've got to nail this pose, I've got to nail this pose today, or I've got to complete this project, it's got to be the best project. But that sense of the infinite in every earthly endeavor, because we're here on earth, so we have to work through the body, we have to work through our limbs, we have to work with the elements. So anyway, I'm going to open it up, and feel free to unmute yourself. So this is, you know, we'll spend a few minutes kind of like reflecting together, wrestling with this together. I use the sutras as kind of like a place to sort of wrestle with these ideas and concepts.
This is Rhonda.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm in Chicago. This is a great sutra, and I think that you explain it or discuss it really well, because I kind of think of it as tight muscles or anything that's in a knot. You cannot feel and sense and be a part if you're hard, and that's the effort. When you relax into it, you are able to connect to where you are, to who you're with, and to yourself a little bit better. That's how I see it. So this effort, if you're too hard, you're putting too much effort into it. Yeah. If you're too relaxed, you kind of don't feel anything. It's that balance between.
Yeah, yeah. I think the body and asana is a perfect laboratory to explore that balance, you know, that, oh, I'm trying to control it too much and I can't, I'm feeling confined, or like, oh, I don't really care how it goes, and then nothing really, and then I get injured, or nothing happens. Any other thoughts? Thank you for that, Rhonda. That's very helpful. Think of a time, can anyone think of a time in an asana or in another situation off the mat where you were able to kind of experience samapatipyam, ananta samapatipyam, this sense of calmness? I love what Brian says here. He says, after a time, so Harihara Ananda says, asana involves a level of pain at first. I think this is where, you know, we lose some students. They come to a class like, oh, it hurts, I'm not coming back. After a time, this disappears by complete relaxation, shaitilya, into the pose, and by meditating on infinite space, so that eventually the body feels non-existent, like infinite space. That's so interesting, this. So can you think of a time in asana or in life when you have like really felt that infinite space, and then what did it take to get there?
So I can remember when I'm sorry, my name is Michele. Hi, everyone. I can remember a time when I first started my practice, and I often see it also with beginners, is when they're in the practice and they're working so hard and the body begins to shake, and by the middle of the class, you're just, your nervous system kind of goes overload, and I remember that in myself, and that it's like a blending of the gunas, right? That tapas, the rajas, to come into that space where you're more at ease. Yeah. And I was also listening to Abhijata when, I can't remember how she said it, but it's an organizing of some sort of the gunas that help you reach to that place where you're level, and that's when you can reach that sattvic state and that space.
Yeah, that's really helpful to equate this ananta samapatibhyam with the guna of sattva. So that's like the signal that, oh, okay, now here I can feel my breath is settling, my mind is not racing, my nervous system is cool. And then so that's, that can be like a signal for us that we're on that track, instead of stiffening up or like completely relaxing or getting agitated. Yeah, that shaking. I remember, I used to shake quite a lot in that first year.
Hi, I'm Yulia. I'm in Detroit. I feel like the last few sutras, including this one, have been a lot about kind of like letting go and getting in tune with sort of not your immediate will or ego, but sort of that like trusting in that, I kind of think about it as background space, but whatever's kind of behind that, the infinite, and I find that really, I find that idea really stressful, actually, and hard, right? Because it takes a lot of effort to develop the trust in order to sort of make that step, like in the, like when I'm practicing and I, I'm like really tight and I'm trying really hard and my leg is shaking and I'm like trying to put my ankle down. I find it's like, it's really hard to kind of trust my body to not hang on, because I'm gonna fall over, I'm gonna pull something, like it's really hard for me to get out of the headspace. So I think this, like, I mean, it's it's a practice, but that practicing of trusting whatever the infinite is, and sort of getting in touch with it, and like knowing how to talk to it, or I mean, it's everywhere, but you know what I mean, I find that it's really challenging.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's really important, this idea of trust, and trusting our own bodies, and developing that sort of relationship with our own bodies, our own physical parts, and that level of intimacy with our own limbs and with our own understanding of ourselves. Yeah, I think that can take a long time sometimes if we have been raised in a culture that is always saying, oh, you need this, you need that in order to trust yourself or be healthy or be beautiful or anything. You need to buy this product or you need to do this thing. And so, to kind of bring it back to that trust of the body. That's interesting. Maybe one or two more comments and then we'll chant it and move on.
This is Jan. I'm from Quincy, about 5 hours south of Chicago, Illinois. I remember, I thought of two things. One, the first time I experienced the indescribable in Shirshasana. I was an empty thing. I wasn't a thing. It was an emptiness. And I remember a Tao reading. I read 365 Tao every day as my meditation book, and it talked about the void. And Iyengar talked about the vastness. And it's the void, and the Tao book talks about the void is like the valley. The valley isn't a big, empty, scary space. There is succulence. There are green things growing in the valley. But where the mind is scared of it, the ego is just absolutely petrified of that empty space.
Yeah.
So it's like the body's way. We get to use the body to around with all this.
You know, thank you for that. I think Shirshasana is actually a really great place to explore a sutra like this, you know, because maybe all of us have experienced, I hope everybody here has experienced that moment where, let's say when you're first learning Shirshasana, it's like effort. It's like, oh my God, I have to press down so hard, I have to lift my shoulders so much, oh my legs, you know. But then once you start to balance, and once you start to balance in the center of the room, and you feel that space around you, and you start to feel the space in your body, it can be, I think for many of us, you know, kind of a illuminating moment. And so anyway, let's move on and we'll chant it together. So the way we chant it is I'll chant it once. Make sure you're muted so that we don't have the feedback. I'll chant it once and then we'll chant it together 3 times, okay? And let's see, if you don't have the book in front of you, you might be able to learn it by ear because it's not a long sutra, okay? Prayatna Shaitilyananta Samapatipyam. Prayatna Shaitilyananta Samapatipyam. Prayatna Shaitilyananta Samapatipyam. Prayatna Shaitilyananta Samapatipyam. Okay. Adho Mukha Virasana with a bolster. Have a bolster and 2 blankets available, all right? So you might only need 1 blanket. It kind of depends on you, but definitely 1 blanket for your head and possibly another blanket under your hips. So the blanket under the hips is not necessarily just for people with knee pain or something like that. It's really to level the hips with the bolster, with the trunk, so that you can be parallel with the floor, all right? So first I'll try it without the bolster, and the knees are not too wide. The bolster kind of in between my knees, but not all the way into my groins. And then from here, I'll bring the forehead down and the arms overhead. The forehead can come on the forearms. And here I'm trying to find that levelness of the trunk. If the bolster is high, then you might be better off lifting your hips a little bit so that the head is not dipping down. The head is not higher or lower than the hips, all right? So now my head is a little bit higher, so I'll put the blanket under my hips so that the hips can be at the same level as the hips. All right, so let me see you in the pose. Adho Mukha Virasana. It'll be helpful if you have space to extend your arms, because we'll extend the arms in a little while. See that you have enough height under your chest, blankets, towels, cushions, whatever you need in order for the chest to be completely, to be supported. And so what we're after, what the bolster is doing today, is it's broadening the back body. So the purpose of the bolster, the height under the chest, is so the back body can be nice and broad. especially the seam of the bottom back ribs, where the bottom back ribs meet the lumbar. We're especially after that region and broadening. So one thing that we're going to be working in all the poses today is that broadening of that, the diaphragm band, we'll call it, at the back body. Now, one of the things that's challenging about this pose, not challenging in a difficult way, but challenging in a balancing way, is how do you broaden across the bottom back ribs? How do you broaden across the diaphragm band such that the diaphragm moves from front to back and the back lung tissue is given space, and then but also lengthen the spine. Also lengthen the spine. Although I think you'd be better off with the blanket under your hips also, so that the hips are not lower than the head. Now extend your arms forward. Extend your arms forward. Walk your hands forward. And then take your hands a little bit wider than your shoulders. And as you extend the arms, as you press your palms down, lift the elbows toward the ceiling, get longer through the side ribs, side chest. Draw the outer armpit down. So we're also stimulating the lymph glands, the lymph nodes in the armpits, in the groin region. Those are the poses that we're doing today are not necessarily like if you're unwell. You know, this is not necessarily like if you come down with COVID or you're struggling with respiratory illness. This is more to just keep the respiratory system healthy. Yulia, take your hands a little wider. Lift your elbows a little higher. Okay. Good. Now from here, push up into Adho Mukha Svanasana and your head will be supported, all right? Your head will be on the bolster. You can build up, you can adjust the height under your head as needed so that you can be here in Adho Mukha Svanasana for several minutes, all right? Using a little bit of head support. Now here in Adho Mukha Svanasana, work on recreating that same length through the sides of the ribs, sides of the waist, sides of the chest, armpit, through the armpits, the outer armpits descending, and then get a really long line. Use the extension of the arms to get longer through the trunk. Use the extension of the legs to lift the hips higher. Keep pulling the middle of the front thigh back, broadening across the middle of the back thigh, and then press the thighs back to get longer through the back waist. Be strong through the legs. You know, Iyengar Yoga teaches us how much we need the active work of the arms and legs in order to access the physiological body. So I think this is one way that we can apply today's sutra, is like through the prayatna, the concerted effort of the arms and legs, can you create the spaciousness in the back lungs, in the diaphragm band? So the arms are extending very firmly, the legs lifting very firmly, and as you press the thighs back more and more, bring your attention to the bottom back ribs. It's not a matter of rounding there, because you still have to extend the chest forward. The chest is still coming forward. The sternum is still lengthening from bottom to top, because we also want to support the front ribs, right? Not just the back ribs. Okay, Uttanasana. With support, you can use blocks, you can use your bolster, you can take the bolster sideways, horizontally, press your hands down to the bolster, and be in concave for a few breaths. Reestablish that same width and length in the trunk that you had in Adho Mukha So here, concave Uttanasana. It's reestablished the same width and length to the back body that you had in Adho Mukha Virasana and Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then now fold all the way down. Lengthen the back of the skull away from the head. If you're injured, then of course you can take more support. You could take support for your head. You could have your hands at the wall. You could have your hands on a chair. So I believe most of you are experienced enough to be able to make those adjustments for yourself. I'm not in the same room with you, so I'm depending on you to make the necessary adjustments. You don't have to ask for my permission. Don't let loose of the effort in the legs. You know, the legs are counting on you. The legs are counting on you to really be strong. And in order to support the trunk. Have a strong connection. We started off with the land acknowledgement today. Have a strong connection from the outer hips to the outer heels. Inner thighs back. Broaden across the back waist. Broaden across the diaphragm band. Extend the back of the head down. All right. And hands to the hips. And come on up. All right. Have a block. I still need to lift the camera angle a little bit. Have a block and hold it between your thighs in Tadasana, okay? So facing the camera, stand in Tadasana. Your feet may or may not be able to join. You don't have to force your feet to be together right now, but have your feet close and hold the block. And so here we are on our feet. And so the theme of this class, standing poses for respiratory health. So now in Tadasana, let's establish what the necessities are if we're directing our standing poses today for respiratory health. So the activation of the feet, spread through the soles of the feet. And then, you know, one thing that's always really interesting is to look at reflexology charts, right? And to see how the different parts of the feet and how they're related to the organs. How the foot, the sole of the foot, and also the palms of the hands are holograms for the whole rest of the body. See, but I think BKS Iyengar would say that any body part is a hologram for the rest of the body. I mean, he doesn't use that language, but I think that if we really apply his teachings, that we start to understand how each body part connects to the whole rest of the body through the meridians, through the energy flow. And so press especially through the ball of the foot. Keep the weight heavy on the heel, but see that the ball of the foot is very well spread, because that's going to be connected to the lung area. But of course, respiratory health is not just lungs. It's also digestive health. It's also endocrine health. And definitely nervous system health. So lengthen the buttocks downward, center of the buttock forward, balance the perineum. So bring the perineum parallel to the top of the block so that the sides of the hips are parallel with the floor. When you do that, hopefully you will access the back body. So spreading through the soles of the feet, heels heavy, inner thighs back, perineum parallel with the block, pubis up, wide across the back waist, wide across the back ribs, but then sternum up. So just because I'm widening here doesn't mean I can let the chest cave, right? I have to widen here at the same time that I lift the sternum up, because the lung tissue is primarily in the back, but also in the front. you know? And then we also have the heart and lungs and the thymus gland right here in the front. So all of that needs to be supported and conscious. And then extend the hands down. Bounce the head at the top of the spine. Align the back of the skull with the sacrum. The crown of the head with the tailbone. Take a couple of slow, soft breaths here. Integrating all that information. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Extend the arms up and see if you can get even any amount taller, longer. And then extend, with the palms facing up, extend the arms out to the sides. And first just like be a little bit soft in the arms, let the elbows be a little bit limp. And then feel the back body. So the diaphragm connects to T12 and then kind of like connects to all the ribs between the 6th and 12th rib. And so if you can picture the diaphragm and connecting back here. So imagine the arms as extensions of the diaphragm as you reach the arms out. So the arms out, and from the diaphragm, widening out. And here, maybe we can experience that, you know, just glimpses of Ananta, that the glimpses of the infinite, in that the arms don't end at the physical body, but can you keep reaching through your fingertips beyond your physical body into space all around you. Taking with you that diaphragm, back lung tissue, and then extend the arms down. All right. Moving on. Trikonasana, our friend. Use whatever support that you need, have it available. Tadasana, without the block, but with the consciousness of the block. All right. And then bring the hands up, jumper step wide. And then we're going to go to the left side first. Okay, I'll be mirroring you. So now, so actually before we turn, have your hands on the hips and mentally go through all the points that we discussed in Tadasana. Strength in the sole of the foot, weight on the heels, thighs back, inner thighs back, tailbone down, pubis up, perineum parallel to the block, all that stuff. You're teachers, you're seasoned practitioners, so hopefully I don't have to walk you through every single action, every single pose, because you are really internalizing some of these, I hope, okay? Then extend the arms out again, palms up, because that might help you to feel that width across the back ribs, the width across the diaphragm band, and the expansion of that back diaphragm region. Take a slow, soft inhale. Slow, soft exhale, extending, broadening across the back diaphragm band. Now turn your palms to face the floor, reconnecting to the earth element in your arms, and then turn your left leg out, right foot slightly in. Now recreate the perineum parallel to the imaginary block, to the earth, and then the broadness across the back ribs. In order to maintain that, have you noticed you have to really use that left leg? You have to really turn the left thigh out and grip the left buttock under, right? Otherwise it drops back. We get a sway back and the diaphragm gets tight. Roll the buttock under to get the diaphragm wide. Inhale, exhale, Utthita Trikonasana. If you want to block, feel free. Don't wait for me to give you permission. If you need anything, get it? All right, so from here, rolling the left thigh out. The more you get the buttock under, then the more access you have. Just look straight ahead. Don't use your head. Don't turn your head right away. Because I want you to feel the connection of the crown of the head to the tailbone, and then the wideness across the diaphragm band first. Then from here, lengthen through the sternum and reach out further through the arms. Can you use the extension of the right arm upward to widen across the back diaphragm band? And then if you're injured in your head and neck, shoulder, then look down at your left foot. Otherwise, you can try turning your head up. Inhale, come on up. Turn the feet back to center. And then turn your right leg out. So we've been doing left leg first all year. I've been doing left leg first all year. Why? Because it's leap year. Leap to the left year. Okay, so turning your right leg out. Now get even through the pelvis. So this is what tends to happen, right? Pull that outer thigh in so that the pelvis is still relating to the earth in a parallel fashion. And that helps to access the back ribs, the back diaphragm band. Buttock under, right buttock under, grip the quadriceps. Inhale, exhale, come on over. And then press through the ball of the right foot. Turn the right thigh out, bring the right buttock under. Head is looking straight ahead. You don't have to look at the camera, but look straight ahead. And notice how the more you get the right buttock under, hopefully the more you can access the back body, the back diaphragm band, and then reach up more with the left arm so that you can broaden across the back body even more. Get the buttock, the right buttock under you so that to create the stability through the trunk. Extend through the crown of the head. Look down if you're injured. Otherwise, try turning your head to look up, but do it from the rotation of the rib cage. Okay. Inhale. Come on up. Turn the feet and step together. Tadasana. In Tadasana, recreate the tallness and the as if you're holding the block, the perineum parallel with the floor, and the back diaphragm wide. Good. Harsha Konasana. All right. Actually, let's do Virabhadrasana 2 first. Virabhadrasana 2. Arms up, jumper step wide. And then turn your left leg out. I have to apologize to my Saturday morning regulars. Normally, so we did back bends last week, so normally we would have done pranayama restorative this week, but instead we skipped it and went straight on to standing poses. So I'll make it up to you at some point. All right, so turning the left leg out. Here, this pose gets tricky for a lot of people because, so hold on, Pam, we're not in the pose yet. You know, don't exhaust yourself. Pull the right outer hip in, and then get taller through the left outer hip right here. Yeah, so that the trunk can experience Tadasana here, even though the legs are turned. Inhale, reach out, palms up, and broaden from the diaphragm out into the fingertips. Then turn your palms down. Inhale, exhale, bend into a square in the left leg. So the more you bend, the harder it is to level the hips, right? The harder it is to get the perineum parallel to the floor, and then the challenge of the left buttock coming forward, because it wants to drop back behind you, the left buttock. The left buttock has to come under so that you can access the back ribs, back diaphragm band, the back respiratory tissue, and also what's happening here. You're supporting the digestive organs. You're lifting The reproductive organs, the digestive organs are lifting here and being supported, pulling back. Lift the chest up, spread across the top chest, extend through the arms. Inhale, come on up. Turn the feet. Hands on the hips for a moment. And then turn your right leg out. Of course, if you're on your period, if you're injured, then feel free to use the wall, whatever support you need, okay? Inhale, reach out through the arms, palms up to get the extension, broadness, and then palms down. Inhale, exhale, bend the right leg into a square. Keep pulling the left outer hip in. See that the perineum is parallel to the floor. Turn the abdomen to the left, to the opposite side. Turn the rib cage slightly to the left. And reach out more through the arms. We're after the broadness across the back body. But in order to do that, you got to get the right buttock under and the left thigh back. And then come on up. Turn the feet. Jump or step back into Tadasana. Let's do that one more time and focus on the chest region. Okay, so on the rib cage. So it's very common, you can just watch for a moment. It's very common for the rib cage to kind of want to turn with the bent leg, you know, kind of turn toward the bent leg. But what's happening here from a respiratory level? So now I'm kind of pinching across the diaphragm bend of the bent leg side, and then the diaphragm is kind of pushing forward to the front body. But if I really work in this back leg, turning the front buttock under, pressing the back leg back, and then getting both buttocks to reach toward the floor, then I can start to feel the evenness, the lift, and the broadness across the diaphragm band. So let's try it one more time. Observing the rib cage and going a little bit, taking the rib cage a little bit in the opposite direction. All right? Tadasana. So soft inhale. Feel it in your body first in Tadasana, so that you know what you're trying to recreate in Virabhadrasana 2. Arms up, jump or step wide. Turn your left leg out. All right. Extend through the arms. Inhale, exhale. Now, bend your left leg, but counter-rotate your rib cage a bit. Yeah, so counter-rotate. So don't let the rib cage turn to the left. Turn it slightly to the right, the rib cage slightly to the right. And then extend through the arms. Reach further through the right arm. Take your shoulders to the right. Yes, good. And then the left buttock under, so that you broaden across that back body. And then lunge. Go ahead and lunge. Put in that effort. Put in that warrior effort. And then maybe you can have just a breath or two of softness in the pose. Right thigh back, right thigh back. Come on up. Hands on the hips. Turn the right leg out. Turn the left foot slightly in. Reach out through the arms, palms up to start, and then turn the palms down. Today, just for today. Inhale, exhale, bend the right leg, but turn the rib cage to the left. Turn the rib cage to the left as you bring the right buttock under more and more. Pull the left outer thigh in, left outer hip in. Roll the buttock under, now pressure left thigh back as you turn the left right leg out more and more. And then from the lower abdomen, it's not just the rib cage, but can you turn the lower abdomen to the left? The lower abdomen, that's right. And then settle sink more, I don't want to say sink, but lunge more deeply into the pose, into the right leg. Good, good. Inhale, come on up. Turn the feet. And then jump or step back together. You know, so standing poses are effort, you know? There's no getting around it, really. But maybe a breath or two, you know? Maybe there's a breath or two where you feel some spaciousness. That sense of infinite space. Parshva Konasana. All right, if you want to block, have it handy. Tadasana. And then jump or step wide. Turn the feet to the left. Inhale, exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, exhale, left hand down. Right hand on the hip for now. Right hand on the hip for now. Okay, so turn the left buttock under, turn the abdomen, the rib cage, the chest to the right, up to the ceiling. Roll the left thigh out. Externally rotate the left thigh and keep pressing the buttock under. Spread across the top chest. Press your right thigh back. This pose, it's difficult to get that wideness across the diaphragm band. You have to really work through the legs. All those actions I just gave you. Now reach up through the top arm. Use the extension of the top arm to take the right back edge of the diaphragm up, away from the left side of the diaphragm, and move the diaphragm from front to back. Inhale, come on up. Turn the feet. Hands on the hips. Let me just talk about that diaphragm from front to back for a moment. Just sometimes it's helpful. I don't really encourage doing it a lot, but sometimes it's helpful for a moment to do the opposite thing. So push the diaphragm from back to front, and kind of what happens when the ribs kind of jut forward a little bit, and then observe your breath here. Okay? Now, you can take your hands, move the ribs back, lift the back ribs, buttocks under, thighs back, and then observe the breath. Just so you have a point of comparison, because don't take your teacher's word for anything. Try it out on your body. It has to work on your body. You have to understand it through your body. Extend through the arms. Turn your right leg out. Inhale, exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, come on over. Hand to the hip. Roll the buttock under, press the right thigh back, press the left thigh back, and then turn the lower abdomen, turn the navel, turn the rib cage, turn the chest to the left. Reach up through the left arm. Don't forget the back leg. You got to keep pressing into the left outer heel and then press the left thigh back. And that's, otherwise it's not going to be possible to turn the abdomen, turn the chest. And then as you reach up through the left arm, take with you the left back ribs, the left side of the diaphragm, and broaden there. Now, this pose also, look down if you have neck issues. Otherwise, you can try looking up. Come on out of the pose. Nice work. Turn your feet. Then, of course, all this exertion of the standing poses, it's so good for our circulation, right? Warms us up, warms up the whole body. Okay, so Ardha Chandrasana, Tadasana. Let's see, everybody use a block for Ardha Chandrasana on the second height, okay? Even if you don't usually, because I think it will help you to get the wideness across the back body. Tadasana. And then jump or step wide. Make sure you have space for the pose, and then turn to the left. Inhale, exhale, Trikonasana. And then bend have the head on the hip, bend the left leg, place the hand on the block, left hand on the block, and then up you go. Ardha Chandrasana. Grip the left buttock under, roll the left thigh out, reach to the right heel.
It looks like we might have lost Gwi-Seok for a minute. So come on out, everybody, and be in Tadasana for a moment. I'll try and get her back in. Well, maybe we can try the second side. I see some folks already are while we wait for her to find internet access again. Welcome back, Gwi-Seok. We're doing the second side.
Okay, good. I was thinking that maybe by now you had experienced the Ananta Samapatipyam because you were in the pose for so long. Yeah, glitchy. Sorry. Okay, you're on the second side. Let me see how it's going. Let me see your back diaphragm. Okay. All right. Okay. And then come on down. Okay, so let's do the pose one more time. Let me show you how I want to approach it. So, you know, when I think maybe I'll give you this view. In pregnancy, we do the pose with the back leg supported, right? So here, with the back foot at the wall, I'm going to take, classically, we go front heel to back arch, right? But I'm going to take the foot just a little bit forward, like, so the foot is maybe, I just moved it like 2 inches. And then the hand to the hip. And the foot is here in order to get the lengthening of the buttocks to the lifted leg heel, and then up with this top arm, all right? Because I think it'll give you greater access to the back diaphragm bend. Let me see. So you need a wall, and you will measure leg length, which for many people is 4. Then the left hand comes to the block, the right foot comes to the wall. Let me see. So the foot is a little bit ahead of the lower foot, okay? It's not classic. 4.5 footsteps, Ava, is the measurement. Look how I measure. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Okay, that works for most people, give or take an inch. All right, good. And then widen. So see, with that foot pressed into the wall, Erin, I can't tell, but it looks like it's back. It looks like your lifted foot is back. Yeah, it has to be forward. Yeah, forward, not back. Forward of the standing leg foot. Ardha Chandrasana, Ava, not Virabhadrasana 3. Ardha Chandrasana. Good. Yulia, try taking your foot a little bit lower. A little bit lower, yeah. Erin, also try taking your foot a little bit lower. Yes. To get that earth element of the lifted leg in order to convey that earth element into the trunk. Okay. Come down and change legs. So stand in Tadasana in that same spot, and then the opposite hand goes to the block, and then the opposite foot goes to the wall. All right, make sense? And the foot slightly forward of the standing leg foot. Vandana, you're a little far from the wall. Maybe you're 5.5 steps. You're a little bit far, and then the lifted leg, not so high. Not so high. Too high. Yes, good. You know, that parallel nature with the earth, sometimes it's hard to find. And sometimes in our enthusiasm, we like way overshoot, which sometimes is necessary. But today I'm saying don't overshoot. Pamela, also try taking the foot a little bit lower, unless there's some medical reason why you're taking it higher. Okay, broaden across the back ribs, lift the back arm. And then remember, when you lift the back arm, it's in order to move the diaphragm. Move in this case, especially the right side of the diaphragm, back toward the back wall, and then spread it out to the sides. Trying to create like an ease in the breath, not to throw your arm back. Because notice what happens to your diaphragm when you throw your arm back. Jan's daughter, or I can't tell who it is actually, but don't throw your top arm back, is what I'm saying. Okay, good work, everyone. And then come on down. Tadasana. And then step the legs, jumper step the legs 4 feet apart for Parsvottanasana. So let's see, for Parsvottanasana, if you want blocks, we're gonna have the hands on the floor. So if you want blocks, get them, all right? Let's see, where are my blocks? Turn to the left. Inhale, exhale, bring the hands down. Concave, just be concave first. So Parsvottanasana, can you recall what we did in Adho Mukha Virasana and Adho Mukha Svanasana at the beginning of class? So recreate that length, that broadness. You know, this sort of navigating the vertical axis and the horizontal axis, that's kind of a summary of what we're doing in asana, in almost every asana, right? Yeah. And so when you broaden across the back waist, the back ribs, then you also have to lengthen the sternum. So try this, everybody. Press the palms down. But you don't have, if you can't easily press the palms down, do use block. Press the palms down, pull up through the arms, roll the upper arm bones up, roll the biceps away from each other. Grip the triceps into the bone. Now from here, lengthen the sternum from bottom to top and spread the collarbones. Don't be so aggressive with the arms that you lose that diaphragm work. You have to find the balance. Are you feeling that? And then from here, now if that's going well, then take the hands further forward and reestablish those same actions. Press into the back heel. Lengthen from the right outer hip to the right outer heel as you pull your left outer hip into the midline, and keeping the abdomen pulling up, the diaphragm broadening, then employ the actions of the arms, shoulder blades, collarbones widening. Go further if you want to, if you can. And maybe when you take your head down, maintain all those actions. Don't collapse the chest. Grip the, you know what? You have to grip the left quadriceps more. Left quadriceps more. The legs have to do the work for you. Okay, come on up. The legs create the conditions, you know? The legs create the conditions for the organic effect. That's what the point of this class is. We have to be super mindful of the legs in order to have the physiological effect that we're seeking. Okay, second side. And the arms. Let's not shortchange the other karmendriyas. Turn the feet to the right. Turn the hips. Buttocks down. Inhale, big open chest. Exhale, come on over into Parsvottanasana. Establish the work of the legs. Left outer hip to left outer heel. Pulling back to the right outer hip. Grip the quadriceps on the right side especially. And then bring your consciousness, come into your smriti, your memory, into Adho Mukha Virasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana trunk. Get the trunk to be parallel with the floor. Pam, you might want to try a chair or your hands to the wall, because I feel like the back body is dominating in a way at the expense of the front body. So I would say have your hands on a chair or at the wall so they can be just a little bit higher. Okay, now from here, pressing into the palms, Roll the biceps forward, the triceps into the bone, spread across the collarbones, pull the shoulder blades in, lengthen the sternum from bottom to top without losing the back diaphragm band. This is your sort of negotiation, your navigation. And then go forward with your hands, with the blocks, at your discretion. At your discretion. What's the criteria? The criteria is the wideness across the back diaphragm band, the firmness through the legs, the chest lengthening forward, So it might be a lot, it might be a little. But not to drop your head, Robert. Lengthen through the collarbones. Lengthen through the collarbones so that the front lungs don't collapse. You know, because we've got lung tissue in the front and back, mostly in the back, but also in the front. Okay, and then go to your maximum and maybe take your head down if you're able to maintain those actions. You have to discern, how much can I maintain those actions? How much can I get my arms and legs to assist me in creating the conditions for the health of my lungs in this pose? Nice work. Come on up. Feet together, Tadasana. And then Parivrtta Trikonasana brings an interesting new dimension. Twists always do, right? Okay, so let's get ready for Parivrtta Trikonasana. If you want gloves, be my guest. I'm going to start with my back. Everybody, start with your back to me, okay? Then step the legs wide. Never step the legs wide. Turn to the left. Okay, so here we're like in Parsvottanasana prep, right? Parsvottanasana position. And then come on over into a concave Parsvottanasana. Bring your left hand to your hip. So you're not twisting yet. Keep your right hand on the inside of your right foot. Not twisting yet. Okay, now from here, bring your attention to the left side of the diaphragm and draw the left diaphragm from front to back, front to back, front to back. Lengthen the right side of the back diaphragm toward the floor. Right side of the back diaphragm toward the floor so that now you can feel the twist. Can you get that twist now? Parivrtta Trikonasana. So we're rotating, giving it like a little rotation to that diaphragm, but staying wide across the back body. Use whatever support you need. Then, once you've done, now following the breath, twist a little bit more, drawing the left side of the diaphragm from front to back and then toward the spine, and then the right side of the diaphragm toward the floor. And then reach up to that top arm. You can cross the hand over if you feel like you have the fullest pose that you can do right now. Then take the hand across and then reach up to that top arm. Nice work. Nice work. Straighten the front leg. Straighten the front leg. Okay, change sides. Come on up. Go to the other side. Turn your feet to the right. Turn the hips. Face the right side. Inhale, exhale. Parsvottanasana to start. Remember everything that we've done, you know. Iyengar Yoga is a process of accrual, so building on everything we've done before. Adho Mukha Virasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana, Parsvottanasana. And now, with your right hand on your hip, now bring your attention to the right side of the diaphragm. Move it from front to back. Draw the right side of the diaphragm towards the spine, in the back, and then the left back diaphragm toward the floor. So we're going into the twist by turning the diaphragm front to back and then giving it a twist. Turning from the diaphragm. Don't go so low with the, take the hand a little bit, take the hand to touch the outer edge of the foot. So don't take the hand forward of the foot, on the floor, I mean. Or in the block in line with your ankle shin, more so than the foot, okay? And then when you've twisted as much as you can, although I can't tell if you're in Trikonasa or Parivrtta Trikonasa. If your back is to the camera, then you should be facing the camera when you twist. I'm not sure. I can't tell because your clothing is dark. It's Parivrtta.
Yes, I was facing you for the first part.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Nice work, everybody. Nice work. And then come on. So you know, the twists are very nice for kind of like making the diaphragm more supple, you know? So it's not just that it's muscle, but we also want it to be supple because a tight diaphragm is going to make us very tense. Okay. Virabhadrasana 3. So this is the way I'd like to approach it, is with a chair and a bolster. Chair and a bolster and a wall. Now the height on the chair is kind of going to be up to you, all right? So what I'm after here is, so I'll do 4.5 footsteps, 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And then from here, I'll come into an Ardha Uttanasana. So the trunk is going to be parallel with the floor. So if you're tall, you might need more height. If you're short, you might need less height. For me, the bolster works pretty well. Then the left foot will come to the wall. Oopsie. The left foot will come to the wall. At the level of the hip. Not too high. Not too low. I gotta see in the camera to make sure it's the right height. And then the right foot. Okay. So it's a supported Virabhadrasana 3 in order to access the back body and the lungs. 4.5 footsteps. And then find your Ardha Uttanasana and then take your leg up. Don't take your leg too high. So look underneath and look at your toes. Look down and look at your toes on the wall and see that the foot is level with the hip. A little lower. You got to press the foot. Lower with the foot, Yulia, firmer with the thigh. Lower with the foot, firmer with the thigh. The foot at the wall, Ava. Foot at the wall. Foot at the wall. Why? Because we're using that stability of the foot at the wall to access the back diaphragm band. Okay, so there's a reason for everything. You know, in Iyengar Yoga, nothing is arbitrary. Nothing is just for dogma. There's a reason for everything. Good. Akiko, take the foot a little bit lower. And then lift the inner thigh of the lifted leg. The inner thigh of the lifted leg. Okay, then widen across the back diaphragm band. Ava, the trunk is dipping. Remember, the trunk has to be parallel with the floor. Abdomen up, abdomen up, abdomen up, abdomen up, abdomen up, abdomen up. Okay, come on down. Watch again. This is the starting position. This is not the starting position. Okay? This is the starting position. What's the theme of the class? Back diaphragm. Then the foot up, all right? Let me see your starting position. Let me see your starting position. Don't take your leg up. Don't take your leg up. Starting position, okay? Abdomen up. Watch me again, Ava. Watch me again. Look closely. Use your eyes. Four and a half footsteps from the wall. Don't take your elbows down, Ava. If you don't have a bolster, don't take your elbows down. If you have a bolster, use it. Okay. 4.5 footsteps from the wall. Take your opposite leg up. If the abdomen doesn't lift, then we don't get the contact with the diaphragm. We're not able to feel the diaphragm. We're not able to move the diaphragm. The diaphragm is one of those really amazing parts of the body that is unconscious. You don't have to work on it, but you can develop a relationship with your diaphragm. Take the foot lower, Ava, foot lower, lower, yes. Press your left thigh back, everybody. Grip the left thigh more, grip the left thigh more. Akiko, take the foot a little bit lower still, because what happens when you take the foot up is then the buttock lifts, the low back drops, and then you lose the contact with the back diaphragm band. Okay, come on down. This is turning out to be more complicated than I had thought. Okay, so watch again. So if I have to be really mindful about taking the foot. I'm looking and seeing that the foot is that the leg is parallel. I can even look in the camera and see. Because look what happens if I take the foot up. Look at the back band, back diaphragm band. Okay, so I've got to get the foot level with the floor. Last time. When we're working with the physiological body, we've got to be more mindful. All right, it's not a casual practice. When we're taking the poses to a physiological level, it shifts from being a beginner practice to an intermediate practice. It shifts from being a casual practice to a medicinal practice, a healing practice. So I'm asking you to go there with me. Since you signed up for the class, I'm assuming that you're interested. Sarah, the foot lower and abdomen up. Too low, too low, too low now. Yes, right there. And then now abdomen up so that you, yes. Now chest forward without losing the abdomen. Ooh, yeah, that's the dilemma, right? That's the dilemma. Good. Ava, the chair needs to come much closer. Change sides, people, change sides. Don't take the trunk down, Ava. Do not take the trunk down. Trunk parallel. Okay, second side. Second side. And then also I would say when we're shifting from the physical practice to the physiological practice, then the teaching is going to be more emphatic because there's more at stake. There's more at stake. Do you understand that? I mean, you know, I think most of you are seasoned, so I hope you understand that. Foot higher, Ava, chest higher. Foot higher, chest higher. Yeah, and then abdomen up. Much better, much better. Okay, good. And then come on down. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Adho Mukha Svanasana. The one thing I ask of my students is to pay attention. Okay? That's really the only thing I ask. Don't go into your habitual pose. I'm not interested in your habitual pose. I'm interested in today's pose to address today's purpose. It's going to be different from tomorrow's purpose, different from yesterday's purpose. Let me see today's pose addressing today's purpose. Okay, okay, good. Prasarita, step forward with your, with one foot, whatever foot that it takes to face forward. Prasarita Padottanasana. Concave back. With your palms into the floor, can you recreate Virabhadrasana 3 trunk? Adho Mukha Virasana trunk, Adho Mukha Svanasana trunk. Okay. And then head down. Now, when you start to take your head down, then naturally the diaphragm band becomes wide, but then also employ the action of the arms that we use in Parsvottanasana to get the, with the arms bent in order to get the chest, to keep the chest from collapsing. Don't collapse the chest. Use support if you need. Now, today, can you take your head back a little bit further? More and come more to the back of the crown? Try that with me. Try that. Take your head back a little bit further, come more to the back of the crown. Lift up the inner thighs, lift the shoulders more and more. So slight rounding of the cervical spine, slight rounding of the back for the respiratory tissue, to address the respiratory tissue. Good. Inhale, come on up. Tadasana. So for Shirshasana, this is what I suggest, is a block and a strap and a three-fold blanket, okay? So I'll show you. And if you want to, let's everybody use the wall, okay? That way you don't have to have any worries. Okay, so here's the mat at the wall, and then the three-fold blanket. The three-fold blanket, Lois always reminds us, is really to lift the inner body. So we're very much concerned about the inner body today, right? Because we're talking about the lungs. The block will be here at the top of my thighs, just like we started class off with. And then the strap just below the block. Pretty tight. I want it to be pretty snug. Now, the hands, the knuckles close to the wall, the hands a little bit away from the blanket. So I'm not taking the blanket on top of my wrists right now. I'm taking I'm letting the blanket come to the floor. And then the hands are kind of in front of the blanket. My head is going to go right on the edge here. The crown of the head is going to go right on the edge here of the blanket. And then I walk in, give a jump, and then that's the wall. Now you can balance. You will want to balance. I think my prediction is that you will want to balance. But you could use a wall if you need it, all right? Let me watch you. Hopefully, you'll feel like you'll reap the benefits of all the standing poses in Shirshasana. The firm work of the legs, the strong work of the arms. And then the block is to reestablish that the actions that we started class off with in Tadasana, if you recall. All right. Now, this is where it'd be really nice if you had your yoga friend, your teacher, your assistant with you, if you need help. Hopefully you'll be able to get up on your own. If not, if you can't get up on your own, you don't have anyone to help you, then you can do it without the block, okay? No big deal. Up you go as soon as you're ready. And those of you who told me you have neck and shoulder issues, if you start to feel that you've reached your limit, then do come down. Don't wait for me, all right? Up you go. Okay. So the block is giving you a cue, a sensory cue, to level the pelvis, right? So the tailbone has to reach out. The buttocks have to cut forward. The middle buttock has to cut forward so strongly. And then the pubis toward the navel, the abdomen moving back, and hopefully all those actions. Yeah, so Erin, it would be really great if you had a second strap on your shins. But if that's too much, then don't worry about it. Okay. So now, hopefully all those, what the block is doing, what the strap is doing, is helping you to find that spaciousness in the back body. That's what we're after, is that spaciousness in the back body. Now, Rhonda, if you have a plank, if you have the capacity to do a straight leg Shirshasana, you'll get more of the sensation of the back ribs. If you have a plank or something to do straight leg, the straight leg version. Buttocks up. Ava, buttocks up. Roll the thighs in, buttocks up, grip the buttocks. Abdomen back, back ribs wide. Keep lifting equally through the triceps, the upper arms, outer armpits forward. Lengthen up through the sides of the chest, sides of the waist. Inner thighs back, calves up, back body wide. The abdomen is coming forward, Penny. Can you come more to the back of the head? A little bit more to the back crown? Or does that bother more? You got to get the rib cage parallel to the wall behind you. Yes. Yes. Good, Pam. What's happening, Julia, is the blanket's a little wide, but I would say don't worry about it right now. Don't worry about it right now, but next time just bring the blanket should be a little narrower underneath you because it's not going to give you much lift otherwise. Michelle would also probably benefit from a second strap on the shins, but next time, if you do it again on your own, try it with a second strap on the shins, those of you who are who have X-shaped legs. Okay. Okay. And then come on down, make your way down. So there's more that I could have said. There's a lot more I could have said in Shirshasana, but people were getting tired. So I would say over the course of the week, if you want to try it again, the things that I really wanted to point out in Shirshasana is so now the earth element is different, right? Earth element is in the arms rather than in the feet. And so then conveying through the work of the arms that the work of the back body, widening across the back waist. But I hope that when you practice this pose again, and and maybe you experienced it already today, that you can feel that point of balance from the crown of the head to the inner heels, and then the ribs parallel to the wall behind you, so that you can, and the brain in the center of the skull, the eyes moving back, the senses quiet, so that maybe you can experience anantasamapatipyam, that sense of the infinite space in your pose, in your mind. Okay. Virasana. You know, the other thing I was thinking about while I was preparing for this class, and if you need to sit on something, was about, you know, how we kind of breathe. We breathe individually, but we also breathe collectively. You know, we often use like that metaphor of the breath as when we talk about the community, when we talk about like the vitality of a city, of a neighborhood. And so as yoga practitioners, how do we sort of like breathe for each other and support each other through the prana that we generate through the breath? And what if we as yoga practitioners are kind of the lungs of our community, you know? And I'm not saying that we're special, because each person can be the lungs of their community. So it's not like it's because we're saviors or because we're gifted, but because we're connected to each other. And so how do we activate that respiratory function, healthy respiratory function in our bodies, and then carry that over into like that healthy breathing in, breathing out of our communities, of our neighborhoods, of our cities, and of our nation. God knows we need that in our nation. So as you press your hands down into your feet. And then lengthen the buttock flesh down, widen across the back waist, but lift the sternum up. Roll the upper arm bones out, draw the elbows down, getting that maximum lift. And here too, can you get the rib cage to be parallel, perpendicular to the floor under you, parallel to the walls on either side of you. Inhale, exhale, Parshva Virasana, twisting to the left, twisting to the left. So bring your right hand to your left knee, and then now feel that diaphragm again. So the left side of the diaphragm has to move from front to back. The right side of the diaphragm moving from the center to the side. With each breath, inhale up, and then with each exhale, turn a little bit more through the movement of the diaphragm. Bring consciousness to the diaphragm. You cannot take deep breaths here. Come back to center. You cannot take deep breaths in a twist because the diaphragm is slightly compacted. It's twisting, and so you're not going to be able to release it all the way down to take a deep breath. So let the breath be light and shallow, but then use the exhales to move the diaphragm a little bit more. Inhale, exhale, turn to the right. On each inhale, grow taller. On each exhale, rotate through the diaphragm a little bit more. Let the breath be light. Don't try to take deep breaths here because that's going to kind of undo the diaphragm and the movement that we are creating in the diaphragm right now. Use the inhales to grow taller through the crown of the head, but not to come out of the twist. And use the exhales to move the rib cage, to move the diaphragm. So the right side of the diaphragm moves from front to back and toward the spine. And then the left side of the diaphragm moves from the spine to the side ribs. Turning. Good. And then come on out. Bharadvajasana, we can twist a little bit more. You can stretch the legs out straight in front and then have a blanket or a block for Bharadvajasana. Take your feet to the right. In Bharadvajasana, we get a little bit more rotation than in Virasana. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, turn. Lean into your right shin, right thigh down, right buttock down as you turn. Don't lean back, George. Extend up to the crown of the head. Yeah. So when you lean back, feel what that does to your kidney band. Kind of like squeezes your kidneys a little bit. Instead, can you broaden the kidneys? Broaden across the kidney band. And then shoulders back, head back, sternum up. Movement of the diaphragm is what rotates today. There's so many ways to approach each pose. And then if you have neck issues, you can look over your front shoulder instead of your back shoulder. Okay. Second side. I hope one of the messages that you get today is that you can, definitely, and of course I referred to Lois's respiratory sequence as I was preparing, but even outside of like a specific respiratory sequence, you can apply the same concepts to every category of poses, right? Every type of pose. Inhale, spread the chest open. Once we understand these principles, then we can play around with our sequencing. We can play around with our practice more and more. Inhale, exhale, come on over, and still get the physiological benefit, you know? So I hope that this approach helps you to feel that sense of freedom, liberty, playfulness, and how the practice can be deeper and more profound on a physiological, emotional, mental, spiritual, social level also. Political, social, political, cultural level, not just individual. Remember, you can look over your front shoulder if you have neck and shoulder issues. Stay firm in the base. Stay firm in the left shin, thigh, buttock. Good. And release. Extend both legs straight. Paschimottanasana. I'm going to take my feet wide because I'm still recovering from my hamstring injury. So then from here, sit up very tall. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, start to come forward. You can use a strap if you need. And then apply the Adho Mukha Virasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana, Parshvottanasana consciousness to the trunk. And then widening your elbows, start to come forward, maintaining the Parshvottanasana trunk. Remember, you have to negotiate between the broadening of the back body and the lengthening of the front body. All right, and keep going to your maximum, to your capacity, and then take your head down. You can use support for your head. You can use a bolster, you can use a block, you can use a chair to be in Paschimottanasana for a few breaths. Widening across the back body, lengthening through the front body. You know, let me also make a connection between the back diaphragm band and the back of the skull. So as you broaden across the back diaphragm band, can you also broaden across the back of the skull so that the pose becomes more sattvic? Maybe you'll feel your cheekbones broaden. Maybe you'll feel your forehead widen. Maybe you'll feel your throat soften. I can't order you to feel these things, but I'm inviting you to explore the sensations in your body to see if these things are happening. Okay. Come on up. And set up for Sarvangasana. So we're going to do the same leg block and strap in Sarvangasana. Okay. So go ahead and set up your blankets, and then you'll tie. I guess I don't need to do my setup. You can do your setup. And then you're going to use the block and the strap once again, okay? So hopefully you have two straps, one for your elbows and one for your legs. If you only have one strap, just use one on your legs. Don't worry about your arms, okay? And of course, use whatever support you need. The wall, chairs, whatever you need for Sarvangasana.
Gwi-Seok, can I just do halasana with a chair and a bolster, because my SI, just to release my lower back a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Like a restorative.
When did it start bothering?
When did it? It's just been like sensitive all week, so I'm just trying to be. It just feels like it's.
Yeah,
I
would say take Ardha Halasana, or have you done this one, Chaturanga? You might want to take Chaturanga for a few minutes. This is like my new best friend. I can use the couch here too. So it really levels the pelvis.
Okay, that looks good. I'll do that.
The knees dangle.
Okay.
All right. And then Ardha Halasana, Yulia, with support. Make sure you mute yourself. Okay, so have your block ready, have your strap. All right, and then come into Halasana when you're ready. Use whatever support you need. Bring your hands to your back. Halasana. Yeah. I like the straps, Aaron. Okay, and then up you go. Yes. Now, Yulia, get a little bit more onto the chair. Bring your trunk a little bit more onto the chair. Yes, and then let your knees dangle. Knees dangle. Relax your feet. For you, Yulia, I suggest putting a three-fold blanket under your navel. Okay, so now press your hands, walk your hands down your back, and then take your feet a little bit further back. Take your feet a little bit further back as you press the buttocks forward. Good. Nice. So press the heel of the hand into the back ribs, lengthen to the sides of the waist, sides of the chest. Now, where your hands are, that's pretty much the back diaphragm band. So that's good to know, and that's good to kind of like sense. So with your hands, you know, here the diaphragm naturally moves from front to back. So it's not something that you necessarily have to like force. It kind of naturally happens. But now the task is, okay, now how do you lengthen through the front groins? And then bring the perineum parallel to the floor. Because you see how the block wants to tilt? So how do you bring the perineum parallel to the ceiling and the floor, keeping that back diaphragm band wide and the chest moving to the chin? Take your legs back a little bit more. Nice work. Nice work. Now, here in Jalandhara Bandha, chest coming to the chin, soft throat, gazing toward the center of the chest. Soften your eyes, soften the temples, soften the jaw, soften the throat, soften the tongue. So that you can come into this pose and stay in this pose with a sattvic attitude. When you feel like you are, you're no longer able to keep the block parallel to the ceiling, when your feet are starting to come forward and you can't urge them, no amount of urging will take them back, then you can come into halasana. All right, don't force a long stay if it's at the expense of the organic body. Also here, I hope you feel kind of a softness in the abdomen. So a lot of times beginners, they think this is a strength pose and they think that it's an abdominal pose, but it's really not. And so hopefully you observe some softness in the abdominal body. I didn't get to talk about it very much, but of course the digestion, what do they say? The digestion is actually like 70% of respiratory health. Oh, sorry, 70% of the immune system is in the gut. But of course, you know, then it's related to respiratory health, because if our digestion and our guts are not healthy, then we're not able to have that ease in the breathing apparatus. Come on into halasana, everybody. Walk your feet away from your head. Walk your feet away from your head. Then you can remove the block here. And then release your arms and roll down. Rest on your back. So hopefully when you come out of Sarvangasana, you feel super mellow. You know, that's one of the purposes of the pose, is to kind of chill you out. Okay. Yuya, you can stay as long as you need to. And then the rest of you, let's take prone Shavasana. So a 3-fold blanket for the front of the hips, and then and a thick blanket for your head. Okay. You could also use a blanket. You can also use a blanket under your ankles if you wish. All right. So the blanket is on kind of the lower abdomen. My navel is like on the top of the blanket, and my tailbone and buttocks are like angling downward. The feet are as wide as the mat, toes toward each other, big toes toward each other, and then the arms could be in Hasta Vakasana. Okay, let me see you. If you have a Mexican blanket, make sure it's not too thick, all right? Because they're thicker than the Indian blankets. Come more to the foot side, Michelle. A little more to the foot side. Yes. Yeah, that's better. I'm looking for that wideness across the low back. Let's see. B, I think you should come a little bit more onto the blanket. Come more to the head side. An inch or two, V. Yes? That looks better in your low back. Sarah, you have to go more to the foot side. Yeah. So the placement of the blanket kind of depends on the shape of your back, you know? Yeah, that looks good, Akiko. Jan, I would go more to the foot side. Yeah. Yeah, that's good, Pam. Okay, good. Have the hands like cactus. This is Hasta Vakrasana, the goalposts. Goalposts. Because if you have your arms down, then the shoulders roll forward, the shoulders roll down. Have a blanket for your head, Yulia. So now breathing into the back body effortlessly, softly. It happens naturally here anyway. You don't have to force it. But hopefully this Shavasana will help you to feel the lung tissue in the back, the diaphragm band in the back. And then we also talked in a couple of poses about the back of the skull. So can you also release the back of the skull away from the neck and then broaden. Make sure that you're not hardening your throat. The cervical spine still has to move from back to front. So the broadening across the back skull doesn't come at the expense of the tightening of the cervical spine. Once again, you have to figure out that the proportions. So if all you care about is the broadening of the back of the skull, then the throat will likely tighten. But if all you care about is the moving of the cervical spine from back to front, then the back of the neck will shorten and the back of the skull will narrow. So you have to figure out, this is your task as seasoned practitioners, is to figure out kind of the relationships, the proportions. Between the various parts of the body, mind, and breath. Stay quiet as you roll to your right side. And then sit up. Join your palms at the center of the chest. Close your eyes if you wish. Let's take a moment to honor the sacred art of yoga and all our teachers, especially BKS Iyengar and Gita Iyengar. We also honor the inner teacher, and we honor each other. Take a slow soft inhale. Bowing your head down, slow soft exhale. Then release your hands, lift your face and open your eyes.